Back here on Bet Live, talking win totals. The Longhorns coming off an appearance in the college football playoff last year and now moved from the Big 12 to the SEC. But despite the perceived upgrade in competition, their win total remains high, 10.5. Now, Longhorns, one of many teams joining new leagues this season. Oregon has also a win total of 10.5. We talked about that earlier in the show. They leave the Pac-12, go to the Big 10. Utah's win total 9.5. The highest in their new conference, which is the Big 12, as the defunct Pac-12 no longer exists. Oklahoma's win total 7.5 now in the SEC. Its lowest win total in 2 decades. Let's bring back in our guy Stanford Steve, Joe Fortenbaugh to my left here. Let's talk about one of these teams in a new conference. Let's start with Oklahoma, Steve. Where are you at with 7.5?
Well, Dalen, first off, I put Oklahoma and USC in their tier of their own for me this coming season, and that's two most interesting teams in college football to me. When you talk about the name brand, there's not too many that are bigger than both those teams in the sport. But going into a new conference, I have no idea what to expect. People want to talk about how good their quarterbacks looked in a bowl game. How'd that work out for Tennessee a year ago when Joe Milton played great in an Orange Bowl and Tennessee went down last year because of his play? So when I look at Oklahoma, I like what I see. Jackson Arnold, great. But how's Oklahoma going to be in this schedule? How is that defense, which I think is going to be very talented, how are they going to react week after week after week? You look at those road games, those are brutal places to play, let alone the teams that might be a lot more talented than they were last year. When it's 7.5, right now I'm leaning towards the over. I believe in what Venables has instilled there. The roster is not as deep as it's been. When we talk about Oklahoma playing for national championships since 2000, but the interest level is fascinating for me because of what they bring to the table, that name, their own brand, and going into the new confines of a new conference. But right now I'm leaning towards the over with Oklahoma.
Agree on the over at 7.5. When you look at the schedule, there's 5 games on there where I see them as double-digit favorites and a few other coin flip games. So that's where we're going to need to come up big in order to win this bet. Now, you've got some scary games on there, right? The Texas game obviously can be problematic. Alabama, LSU going back-to-back at the end of the season. If you're banged up there, that's going to hurt. But at least you have the bye coming off the Missouri game. Venables did a really nice job from year 1 to year 2. 6-7 his first year on the job, 10-3 in year 2. We like to see that kind of progress. We also like to see what they did in the transfer portal. Demonic Williams comes over at defensive tackle from TCU. That's big for the defense. Deion Burks coming over at wide receiver from Purdue. That's big for the offense. So I'm with Steve. I go over 7.5, but that is a very tough schedule for your first year in the SEC.
Steve, you touched on this without knowing what you're getting into here. 5 of those first 7, though, are home or neutral with that Texas game, and I know exactly what that's about historically. I think people lose with these new venues. It's not just who you're playing, the new type of competition. Logistics, where are we staying? What are we doing? How's pregame meal? The whole organization is new, and every coach I talk to, it's really hard to start doing this stuff all new. I barely lean to the over 7.5, but there's a lot of variables here. Let's go to USC. You just mentioned the same layout and their same situation, Steve. Where are you at in the Trojans?
Same deal here. Quarterback that played well in a bowl game. They're sky high. Their coach is still there. They got all the flair of SC that you want. And now you're going to play a totally different style. You don't have the Heisman Trophy winner anymore at quarterback, and you got to go on the road to some brutal places. And everybody's going to talk about weather. I'm just talking about how you're going to travel and how you're going to come back week after week. You start with LSU. We've read about that plenty of times. They've been trying to get out of that game for 2 years. You think Lincoln Riley really wanted us to open the season against an SEC team? You look at Michigan. You got Wisconsin. I have no idea what they're going to be. That's the week after Wisconsin plays Alabama. You got Penn State on there. You got to go to. You don't have to play Ohio State and Oregon, which is a plus, but I still think that's a bear of a schedule. I would lean towards the under right now because, again, when you look at that roster, it's not an SC roster we're accustomed to seeing when they were playing for national championships since 2000. I get it, but I really think the totality of all that adds up at the end of the year with some tough games at the bottom of the schedule. I lean towards the under with SC.
I feel you on that. Okay, Joe, what is your favorite win total out there?
5 years we've been doing this show. We're entering our 5th college football season. I think every year at some point I've been asked that question, and every year I've said Utah. I really like Utah.
He's Mr. Ute.
I'm on Utah like every single year. Over 9.5 wins. I like the playoff odds as well. They're moving over to the Big 12. Cam Rising's back at quarterback, 25 years old, 27 career starts under his belt. He's off the injury, coming back healthy. Utah did some good work getting some good backups in behind him if there are problems this year. You know Kyle Whittingham is going to have one of, if not the best, offensive and defensive lines in the conference. September 21st at Oklahoma State. That's the big game. That's the toughest game on the schedule. Outside of that, I've got them as a favorite in every other game they're going to play, and the win total's 9.5. Find me 3 losses on that schedule. This is a good football team, a well-coached football team, and that's a hell of a schedule. I'm very pro-Utah again for like the 5th consecutive year on this show.
Famous last words. Find me 3 losses.
Okay,
Coach Whittingham, don't find him 3 losses. Okay.
Please do not find me 3 losses.
We just went on this rant about new places and new teams and stuff. I honestly like SMU. Part of that reason is Rhett Lashley knows the league in the ACC. He coached in it before. He was there at Miami as the OC. And their road games are very winnable road games. Nevada to start the year, Stanford, Duke, UVA. They start the season. Majority of their games are at home outside of Nevada. Then they got a rip of games at home, Florida State being one of them. That's going to be a huge, just madhouse opportunity for them early in the ACC schedule at Louisville. As I mentioned, the other road games they can win. I like them over 8.5 on this schedule.
Watch out for Houston Christian.
Watch out.
Possible look-ahead spot.
I was going to use their mascot, but I don't even know what it is. Steve, what you got?
I'm with you to an extent. Again, I got to see it. Stone, the quarterback, is an exceptional talent. He's got to stay healthy through a totally different schedule that they went through last year and years previously. Love Rhett Lashley. You're never going to hear me say a bad word about him, but they got to go do it.